Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Saima Amin from Jamia Hamdard. Today we are going to discuss about the modules evaluation of solid dosage form. Especially I'll be focusing on capsules and powders under the paper Pharmaceutical and Biological Analysis. The learning objectives for this module will be, first of all, I'll be putting emphasis on the solid dosage form, that is the capsule. In this capsule module, I will be making you aware of the simple definition or introduction to the capsule. Then I will be emphasizing on the evaluation of capsule dosage form. The second aspect of this module will be the solid dosage forms like powders and granules. Again, I will be giving you a brief introduction to the concept, and then the different parameters for evaluation of this powder or granule dosage form will be discussed. Now friends, as we all know that capsule is a solid dosage form and it is a common kind of a dosage form for oral administration of pharmaceuticals. Like tablets, they are also produced in different shapes and sizes and containing a single dose of a drug. Apart from the active ingredients, other excipients are also added in a capsule dosage form, such as antimicrobials, preservatives, fillers, flavoring agents, sweeteners and coloring agent. These capsules are of two types, we all know. First one is the hard gelatin capsule and the second one is the soft gelatin capsules. The hard gelatin capsules contain solid active ingredients that are formed by dipping finger-shaped pins into liquid gelatin solution and then extracting them and allowing the resulting surface film of gelatin to dry out, and is ultimately the caps and body of the pieces of capsules are formed. Quality control check for capsules is also carried out during all stages of manufacturing operation, which is the primary requirement for good manufacturing practices. This slide shows the quality control test for the evaluation of gelatin material, which is the raw material for preparation of soft gelatin capsules or hard gelatin capsules. Usually, this gelatin solution is evaluated for viscosity. Ideally, the viscosity should be in the range of 25 to 45 millipoise. Then, the gelatin solution should have specific iron content which is less than 15 parts per million. E. coli and Salmonella type of microorganism must be absent in this gelatin solution. And the moisture content of this gelatin solution should be in the range of 12 to 16%. Finally, the Bloom strength of this gelatin solution is evaluated, which indicates the force faced by a plunger to enter into the gelatin solution of a specific concentration. Now coming to the evaluation aspects for a capsule dosage form, here we need to understand the variety of parameters helping us to say that the prepared capsule is of optimal quality. The first feature we need to assess in a capsule dosage form is the uniformity of the weight. As we all know, here in uniformity of weight evaluation for a capsule formulation, entire capsule is weighed and is then opened without losing any part of the shell, and the contents are then removed from the capsule. To remove the contents of a soft gelatin capsule, the shell is allowed to wash with ether or other suitable solvent, and then the shell is then allowed to stand until the odor of the solvent is no longer detectable. The shell is then weighed again. So, the weight of the content is the difference between the weighing process. The procedure is then repeated for further 19 capsules and then average weight is determined. We say that the prepared capsules have passed the test if not more than two of the individual weights should deviate from the average weight by more than the percentage deviation shown in the table, and none should deviate more than twice that percentage indicated in the table. In the slide, the different weight variation parameters for the capsules are indicated. For example, if the capsule or granules or powders as a single unit dose form are evaluated for weight variation, if the content is less than 30 milligram, then the percent deviation allowed is 10%. And if the content of the active pharmaceutical ingredient is more than 300 milligram, then percent deviation allowed is 7.5%. Now the next parameter for the quality of a capsule dosage form is the content uniformity. Usually Here we take 10 capsules randomly and the content of the active ingredient is determined by suitable analytical method indicated in the monograph. Then the capsules comply with the test if not more than one of the individual values thus obtained is outside the limits of 85 to 115% of the average value and none is outside the limits of 75 to 125%. If two or three values are outside the limits of 85 to 115% of the average value, the test is repeated for another 20 capsules. Now, the capsules comply with the test if the total of the 30 capsules show not more than the three individual values outside the limits of 85 to 115% and none is outside the limits of 75 to 125% of the average value. Where 20 capsules cannot be obtained, a smaller number which must be less than 5 may be used, which must not be less than 5 may be used. For capsules containing more than one active ingredient, the test is carried out for each active ingredient and the test should be carried out only after the content of active ingredient in a pooled sample of the capsules has been shown to be within the accepted limits of the stated content. In British Pharmacopoeia, the limit specified is less than 10%. However, in United States Pharmacopoeia and Indian Pharmacopoeia, they do not define the parameter as a quality control tool. The next quality attribute of a capsule dosage form is the uniformity of the mass. For uniformity of mass, intact capsule is weighed and the capsule is opened without losing any part of the shell and the contents are removed as completely as possible. For soft gelatin capsules, the shell is washed with a suitable solvent and allowed to stand until the odor of the solvent is no longer perceptible. The shell is then weighed again. The mass of the contents is the difference between the weighing. The procedure is repeated with another 19 capsules and as per USP and BP and in Indian Pharmacopoeia, the limit defined for this is less than 10% deviation. The next feature for the quality of a capsule dosage form is the disintegration time. The disintegration of capsules is different from those of tablets because the determination of end point is difficult owing to the adhesive nature of the shell. Therefore, the shell pieces after disintegration may agglomerate, forming a large mass of gelatin, taking more time to dissolve, or it may adhere to the mesh, thus blocking the holes also. Therefore, according to United States Pharmacopoeia, single dosage unit like capsule is placed in each of the tubes of the basket with water or any other specified medium maintained at 37 plus minus 2 degrees centigrade. The capsules are observed for the time limit specified in the individual monograph of that drug and usually 30 minutes is for the hard gelatin capsule and 60 minutes is for the soft gelatin capsules. For gastro-resistant capsules, the apparatus is operated for 2 hours without the disc and the medium used is 0.1 molar hydrochloric acid. And if no capsule shows signs of disintegration or rupturing, then the test is carried out in phosphate buffer of pH 6.8 for 60 minutes. If the capsule fails to comply because of adherence to the test, the results are invalid and the test is repeated on further 6 capsules. At the end of the prescribed time, all of the capsules must have been disintegrated, excluding the fragments from the capsule shell. If 1 or 2 capsules fail, the test should be repeated on additional 12 capsules and then not less than 16 of the total 18 capsules tested should disintegrate completely. Dissolution test. Dissolution test is again a parameter for the performance of a capsule formulation. Both apparatus 1 and apparatus 2 are used to carry out the dissolution test for capsules. When paddle is used, it is called as apparatus 2 and the capsule is allowed to sink to the bottom of the vessel prior to rotation of the paddle and care should be taken to exclude air bubbles from the surface of the capsules. When basket type is used, the capsule is placed in a dry basket at the beginning of the test and then basket is placed or positioned before rotation starts. The apparatus is operated immediately at a specified rate within a specified dissolution medium, and the temperature maintained is 37 plus minus 0.5 degrees centigrade. Allocates are withdrawn at specified time points mentioned in the individual monograph of that drug, and the capsules pass the test if the quantity of active ingredients dissolved conforms the following. At stage S1, where 6 capsules are tested, the amount of each of the dissolved content should not be less than plus minus 5% of that mentioned in the monograph. At stage 2, S2 stage, where 6 capsules are tested and the average of the 12 capsules of S1 and S2 should be equal to or greater than 15%, and no capsule should be showing less than 15% value. At stage 3, S3, when 12 capsules are tested, the average of 24 capsules, that is S1, S2 and S3, should be equal or greater than the amount mentioned in the monograph, and no more than 2 units are showing less than 15% of the dissolution, and no unit is showing less than 25% of the dissolution. Moisture content. Since we know that the capsule is made from gelatin and the presence of moisture will lead to deterioration of the capsule, therefore, soft gelatin capsules are evaluated for moisture content. The capsules are weighed accurately and are placed in a desiccator containing calcium fluoride for 48 hours. The final weight is noted, and when there is no further change in the weight of the soft gelatin capsule, then the value is observed. The percentage of moisture content is calculated as the difference between the initial weight and the final weight with respect to the initial weight. This whole procedure is done for hard gelatin capsules also. The next parameter to evaluate the quality of a capsule formulation is the viscosity and its pH. The viscosity of a capsule dispersion is determined by using Brookfield cone and plate rheometer. The formulation dispersion is prepared by dissolving one soft gelatin capsule in around 10 ml of the distilled water or simulated body fluid of pH 1.2, 6.8 or 7.4. The viscosity is measured at 33.4 degrees centigrade by keeping the speed at 20 rpm and the shear rate is 40 per second. The pH of the dispersion of gelatin capsule is also observed. Here, the pH of the dispersion is observed through pH meter using the electrode, and this feature is required as it assures the complete absorption of the capsule across the biological membrane. The measurement of swelling index. Swelling capability of a soft gelatin capsule is determined in simulated body fluid, and each soft gelatin sample is weighed. This weight is designated as W0, and then it is placed in a pre-weighed stainless steel basket with 20 mesh aperture. Then basket containing the soft gelatin capsule is submerged in 20 ml of the medium taken in a glass beaker. The basket is then removed from the glass beaker at preset time intervals and is reweighed until no further change in the weight of the soft gelatin capsule is observed. This weight is called as WT. Therefore, now the degree of swelling is expressed through expression swelling index is equal to WT minus W0, and whole is then divided by W0. Now the next parameter for the evaluation of capsule formulation is the bioadhesion. The bioadhesion or the bioadhesive properties of soft gelatin capsules is assessed on mucous membrane of sheep or goat using a texture analyzer. The excised mucous membrane is held on the lower platform of the texture analyzer using a rubber band. Then soft gelatin sample is fixed to the upper probe with the help of double-sided adhesive tape. Now, the mucous membrane is then kept in contact with the sample for 5 minutes to ensure intimate contact between the tissue and the sample. Then, upper probe of the texture analyzer is moved at constant speed of 0.1 millimeter per second. The force required to detach that sample from the tissue surface is determined as the bioadhesive strength for that soft gelatin capsule. Stability study. Stability study is again required for capsule formulations. Here, hard gelatin capsules are evaluated for physical stability such as appearance, color, odor, content or assay, disintegration, dissolution, moisture, and the microbial limits. While soft gelatin capsules are evaluated for appearance, color, odor, content, that is assay, disintegration and dissolution, moisture, microbial limits, pH, leakage, and pellicile formation. The physical stability of soft gelatin capsules is associated primarily with the pickup or loss of water by the capsule shell. As the humidity increases, the moisture content pickup of capsules increases. For example, at 30% relative humidity and at room temperature, gelatin retains around 12%, that is 48 mg of water, and glycerine nearly 17%, that is 14 mg. High humidity, that is more than 60% relative humidity at temperature 21 to 24 degree centigrade, produce more lasting effects on the capsule shell. As moisture is absorbed, the capsules become softer, tackier, and bloated. The capsule manufacturers routinely conduct accelerated physical stability tests on all new capsule products as an integral part of their product development program. The tests are adequate to prove the effect of capsule content on the gelatin shell and are relevant to the integrity of the gelatin shell. The test conditions are: first, 80% relative humidity at room temperature in an open container. Second, 40 degrees centigrade in an open container. Third, 40 degrees centigrade in a closed container like glass bottle with a tight screw cap. The capsules at these conditions are observed periodically for 2 weeks. Both gross and subtle effects of the storage conditions on the capsule's shell are noted and recorded. The control capsule should not be affected except at 80% relative humidity, where the capsule would react because of high humidity. Now coming to the introduction to the powder dosage forms. We all know that powders are also the solid dosage forms, and these formulations consist of a mixture of finely divided drug with excipients in a very dry form. The powders can be used internally or externally. Although these powders per se are not used extensively in therapeutics, but they are widely used in preparation of various dosage forms. The granules are the agglomerates of these powdered materials prepared into larger free-flowing particles. The granules are typically the particles or the assembly of particles which are in the range of 850 micron meter, that is, they pass through sieve number 20 easily, or they can be in the size range of 4.75 millimeter, that means the bulk passes through sieve number 4 easily. The shape of granules is generally irregular and flow better than the powders, but granules have smaller surface area, which makes these granules more stable physically and chemically than the corresponding powders. Evaluation of powders and granules. Since we know powders and granules are also a type of solid dosage form, they are also evaluated and assessed for the quality attributes. The prime feature of powder and granules are the particle size. The particle size of a powder is characterized, and which is of importance also, in achieving the optimum production of medicines. This particle size influences the dissolution rate of the drug, in vivo absorption rate, and the onset of therapeutic activity. Particle size is important during the production of solid dosage forms, in the manufacture of tablets and capsules also. And here also, the particle size of powders is standardized according to the United States Pharmacopoeia with a descriptive term such as a very fine, fine, moderately coarse, coarse, and very coarse powders. Here the different definitions of powders of vegetable and animal drugs are shown. Designations which are used for powders include very fine powder, which has maximum diameter less than 180 micron meter or less than 0.18 millimeter. This powder passes through sieve number 80. The second designation is fine powder, which has the maximum diameter less than 250 micron meter or 0.25 millimeter, and this powder passes through sieve number 60. Moderately coarse powder is again a third kind of designation for the powders, where the maximum diameter is less than 425 micron meter, and in terms of millimeter it is 0.425. This powder passes through sieve number 40. The next kind of the powder designation is coarse powder, which has a maximum diameter less than 850 micron meter or 0.850 millimeter. This powder passes through sieve number 20. Finally, the last designation for the powder is very coarse powder, which is a powder with maximum diameter less than 2360 micron meter or less than 2.36 millimeter. This powder passes through sieve number 8 easily. Particle size distribution. In order to evaluate particle size distribution, the powders and granules are sieved, and the powders and granules are then disposed on a series of sieves sized 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 70 and 100, and they are placed on the device. The remaining powders or granules on each sieve are weighed, and the mean diameter D is calculated using the equation D is equal to summation of xi di whole divided by 100, where xi is the average size of both upper and lower sieves and di is the percent of the value I in the range of that bulk. Now, the very crucial property of granules is their flow characteristics. We need to assess the flow characteristics for the granules or powders, and here we have to characterize these granules and powders based upon their flow properties. These flow properties of the powder or granules is very important parameter, as it helps in mixing, segregation, and it helps in mixing and it leads to segregation also, and it is essentially required during storage. Therefore, depending on the manufacturing and packaging processes, different flow characteristics of powders are required that are essentially required for the quality control features. In powder dosage forms also, excipients are added for diluting the active powder drug and to improve the packaging properties. Angle of repose, compressibility index, also called as Carr's index, and Hauchner's ratio are the important indices for the flow property of powder. Angle of repose, designated as theta, is again a parameter for assessing the flow characteristics of a powder. The frictional forces in a loose powder or granules may be measured by this repose angle, and it is defined as the maximum possible angle between the surface of a powder pile or granules and the horizontal plane. The granules are allowed to flow through a funnel fixed to a stand at a definite height. The angle of repose theta is then calculated after measuring the height of the heap and the radius of the formed granules, and putting the values to the expression, which is tan theta is equal to h by r. We can get the value for the angle of repose. The next feature for the quality of powders or granules is the compressibility index. The flowability of powder may be evaluated by comparing the bulk density, that is rho B, and the tap density, that is rho T, of powder and the rate at which it pegs down. The percentage of compressibility index is then calculated as rho tapped minus rho bulk whole divided by rho tapped, and the value is then expressed in percentage by multiplying with 100. Hausner's ratio is again an important character to determine the flow property of powder or granules. It is calculated by using the formula, which is Hausner's ratio is equal to rho T, that is the density of a tapped powder or granule, and rho B, that is the bulk density of the powder or granule. Moisture content. The moisture content of a specified weight of powder or granules is observed using moisture analyzer. It indicates the free flowability of the powder or granules. If moisture is present, the hindered flow is there in the powder or granules. The slide shows the different values related to the flow characteristics of powder or granules. The flow is expressed as excellent, good, fair, poor, or very poor, or extremely poor flow, and the corresponding value related to Carr's index are indicated. For example, if the Carr's index value is in the range 5 to 15, the flow is excellent. If in the range of 12 to 16, the flow is good. Values between 18 to 21 indicates fair flow, while values between 23 to 35 indicates poor flow, and the values between 35 to 38 indicates very poor flow. If the value is higher than 40, it is termed as the extremely poor flow characteristic for that powder or granule. Again, we can depict the flow characteristics through angle of repose theta also. If the value for the theta lies between 25 to 30, it is the excellent flow for that powder or granule. And if the value is in the range 30 to 35, it's a good flow. Values between 35 to 40 indicates fair flow, while the values between 40 to 45 indicates poor flow. Very poor flow is indicated by the value for theta in the range 45 to 50. Hausner's ratio also indicates the flow characteristics for the powder or granules. If the value is in the range of 1.2 to 1.3, the flow for the powder or granules is very excellent, while if the value is in the range of 1.3 to 1.4, the flow is good, and the flow is termed as fair if the value is lying between 1.4 to 1.5. However, the values higher than 1.5 and lesser than 1.6 indicates the flow which is a poor flow for the granules or powders. Bulk density. For bulk density of a powder or granule, nearly 15 gram of the granules or powder is introduced into a dry 100 ml cylinder without compacting. The granules are then carefully leveled without compacting, and the unsettled apparent volume, that is V naught, is read. The bulk density is then calculated using the formula, which is bulk density is equal to the mass of the granules divided by the apparent volume of powder, that is V naught. The tap density also is calculated, and a suitable amount of granules is then placed in a 100 ml measuring cylinder. After noticing the initial volume, the sample is then tapped 500 times initially, followed by additional taps of 750 times until the difference between the succeeding measurement is less than 2%. And then tapped volume is measured to the nearest unit. Tap density is then calculated using the expression tap density is equal to mass of the sample divided by volume of that powder or granule. The drug content for the granules or powder is also required to be known. Here, a dose of the granules or powder is accurately weighed and is then mixed in 100 ml of phosphate buffer of pH 6.8 in a volumetric flask. Then, subsequent dilutions are made from the stock solution and the concentration of the dilution is then measured at a specific lambda max using spectrophotometer. The drug content is then calculated using the following equation, which is the drug content is equal to the concentration against the absorbance multiplied by the dilution factor. Effervescence time. Effervescence time is also required to be known for the powders which tend to show effervescence. Here, appropriate weight of the powder is placed in a beaker of water and effervescence time is then measured using a stopwatch. Effervescence time is defined as the moment when a clear solution is obtained. The effervescence time of powder should be less than 3 minutes as per British Pharmacopoeia. Dissolution study. Dissolution study is a vital feature for the quality of powder or granule formulations. The in vitro dissolution study is usually carried out in the dissolution apparatus as per USP method using apparatus 2, that is paddle apparatus. Here 900 ml of the dissolution medium, usually phosphate buffer of pH 6.8 is taken in a covered vessel and the temperature is maintained at 37 plus minus 0.5 degrees centigrade. The speed of the paddle is set at 50 rpm. Then sampling is done at every 1 minute interval. For each sample of volume 1 ml, the dissolution medium is added, which is the blank dissolution medium, to replenish the system, and the whole apparatus is maintained at 37 plus minus 0.5 degrees centigrade. The samples so withdrawn are filtered with Whatman filter paper and diluted with phosphate buffer to analyze the drug content using UV spectrophotometer. The absorbance is observed and the cumulative percent release is then calculated. Stability study. Stability study of formulated granules is carried out at a short-term testing for a period of first month at 25 plus minus 2 degrees centigrade and relative humidity 60 plus minus 5%, and for accelerated testing for a period of second month, the temperature maintained is 40 plus minus 2 degrees centigrade at a relative humidity 75 plus minus 5%. The effects of temperature and humidity on the moisture content, drug content, and effervescence time of granules are evaluated for assessing the stability of powders or granules. Let us summarize this module. The important factors and points which we have understood through this module is the capsules and powders are the solid dosage forms which are used for oral administration of drugs, but powders can also be used for external application. These powders and granules are evaluated for particle size, moisture content, uniformity of content and drug release. And in such dosage forms, flow characteristics of solid fill is very important as it controls the manufacturing process. The flow characteristics of powders and granules are evaluated through angle of repose, compressibility index and Hauchner's ratio. Thank you.